Reunited 'cause it feels so good. Reunited 'cause we know it should. Oh, welcome back after an extended vacation, some would say. Who dares get a vacation these days? Welcome back, one and all. Hope you're doing well. Give me a chance to find my feet. Hopefully, some people will attend. But this is recording straight off here on Facebook, Twitch, and D Live. Before I bring my next guest in, Bruce joins me back after an extended vacation, an extended leave of absence. We are now streaming back again this surprise broadcast. I will touch in later in during the week. We will probably go for Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Let's just ease our way back into it as the room fills up. Great to see Raymond in the house. Raymond McGuigan, good to see you, brother. Mirren jumping in. Hi to you. Great to see you, Mirren. Come on. Welcome one, welcome all. And also Tom Brave Media. Tom, I will mention there, stay in the chat there as well. Tom Brave Media. Remind me to discuss that, Tom, and I will broadcast. I will talk about your Facebook post as in dealing with An Garda Síochána here in the Republic of Ireland. Tom did a fantastic little Facebook video presentation on his page, and I would like to promote it for you. And it's a very well balanced and well thought out thing, and it uses An Garda Síochána's own rules, as I would say, rules of engagement with citizens, but it's through their disciplinary. Tom will expand on it more. Ian joining us there. Gareth, welcome, and Max Trax jumping in. Hey, Hillary dear, how are you? Donald Casey, great to see you all. Thanks for coming back and joining us. Don't forget, as I mentioned to you now, we with the huge purge, the censorship, as the elements of what I'm going to term as the great resets are being put into place. Tetris, it seems to be being constructed all around us. Myself and Bruce were just engaged in a very stimulating conversation, and I hope we will transplant that or transpose that over to here now, and we will be able to pick up where we left off. Susie Q, great to see Susie Q. Welcome to you. Johnny Snot, how are you? Martina McCabe, lovely stuff. Sean Kilkenny. Okay, folks, let's crack on. Let's bring Bruce back in. Oh, before I get, let me. I'm pleased. I'll be a little bit rusty, but I will work my way through. Please don't forget our good friends over at the Little Pharma. The little. Get up there. Where are you? Why is that working? I don't understand. Well, we leave it. I'll bring Bruce straight in, right? My apologies to the Little Farmer. There they are there. And I pressed. Now I know. I completely realised. Please don't forget, as I always encourage you, don't forget our friends over at the Little Farmer. We love our enzymes so much. We keep them alive. Wheatgrass and barley grass mighty shot. Small wonder they're so good. 1 wheatgrass shot is equivalent to 1 kilogram of your leafy green veg. Barley grass juice full of antioxidants. Just shake and shoot. And quality guaranteed Irish product, and no remuneration here, just appreciation for the support from a patriotic company. Please lend your support. Please visit the website, and don't forget to enter into promo code GT. Okay, enough with the capitalism. Bruce, how are you? So great to see you. Thanks for joining me again.
It's been a few weeks. It's good to be back. I've missed the old Grandstream.
Yeah, missed it myself. I've been itching to get back, but I've been trying to reimagine the studio, a little bit of sparkly effect. We'll get the green screen back on the go, but we're plugged straight into the main line, so I'm not expecting any breakup in communication. A nice, clean, clear, concise, and consolidated information. Bruce, I did say to you at the very start, we want to kind of make an inference because I want to re-upload this to YouTube afterwards. And I mentioned to you that they're ramping up the algorithms. Channels are being, removed ad hoc. Our good friend Compute On Forever, Dave Cullen, is being copyright striked left, right, and centre in retrospect for videos previous. So, with the expected huge purge on January 10th, we won't make mention of what's happening in the United States, but we'll focus our attention on the United Kingdom. Your engagements with and your recent articles in the UK column, which is due to come out.
It was the off Guardian. I should have something coming out in UK column regarding the applied psychology of the UK government It's essentially it's a speech. It's online actually. It's an article based on that. A lot of the material. The applied psychology unit of the UK government, Spy B. And there's another guy, psychologist in the UK called Gary Sidley, who's sent an open letter, which I'm a signatory on, to the British government. Basically, the use of applied psychology by making people frightened, by creating a culture of shame, us and them, you not wearing a mask, etc., etc., and essentially they're breaking the ethics of the British Psychological Society. So more and more people, I mean, I have myself and a few others have been talking about this for many months, and it's good that it's getting traction now. And as I said in my speech outside a few weeks ago, outside the Scottish Parliament in Edinburgh, I listed the sort of ethical necessities of applied psychology, which were safeguarding, which was letting people work, which was letting people meet freely, things like that. And I likened it to actually to the idea of domestic abuse, because a lot of these diktats by the government, stopping you work, stopping you meet, stopping you earn money, etc., are just what a domestic abuser does.
Yeah.
And because domestic abusers, they never tell the truth. They constantly spin you a line. The victim has to follow, and it's become quite blatant, I think, in recent days. Well, first was, everyone's been waiting for the Vaseline.
Thank you.
So, what?
Thank you for the inference.
The
Vaseline. And just to reiterate, that's what we're alluding to. The prick, the jab, call it what you will, but we're inferring it as the Vaseline.
We've been waiting for the Vaseline, and it arrived last week to great fanfare. Even the skeptic Julia Hartley Brewer was clapping and applauding Matt Hancock on air, and so we've been waiting for the Vaseline, and it came. But then about a day later, 2 days later, we were told that, oh, by the way, even if you smear this lovely Vaseline all over you, you will still have to wear a mask, and you will still have to socially distance.
Yeah.
Because this Vaseline, it doesn't stop you getting infected.
It's changing. We have to cull the minks.
Yeah.
We have to go crazy. We have to kill the livestock because it's going interspecies, and we're going to have another booster in 6 months. Yeah. And Bill Gates says, well, maybe get some sort of normality in 2022. It went from 15 days, and here we are, some 300, well, how many ever days to flatten the curve. This is blatant totalitarianism. This is the Great Reset, which I also want us to steer our attention towards.
Yeah, and so that with the social distance, we have to wear the mask. And there's a new strain, and London's got to be put in tier 3. Thousands of jobs will go because of that, and of course this great Vaseline, it wasn't tested on old people in all the tests.
And we've had one of the scientists, shall we say, that was working on it, said that it's going to be perfectly normal that we are going to experience some deaths, particularly among the elderly. It's expected, it's natural. People shouldn't be surprised at that. It's like openly conditioning you and priming you for it. This experimental drug that we're going to roll out to the youth, and the old smacks of the big lie, which we spoke about before we jumped on. The big lie being,
just like
believe the big lie.
Just like a domestic abuser, because a domestic abuser would say, well, this is for your own good, but something bad will happen, but don't blame me. This is just, and if it does happen, like, well, I told you so, and you haven't been doing it properly. Well, that's what they say, because they say, well, if you relax too much, we shouldn't have let people meet over Christmas, so we're going to have to lock you down again. So it's not about a vaccine. It's not about the vaccine. Vaseline. The Vaseline, may or may not be helpful, so to speak. It may affect
Spit
health.
it out, Bruce. Spit it out.
It may affect health in a lot of ways. We don't know. Fertility, for example. Fertility. There's unknowns about of its effects on fertility. Now, of course, who was tested during the tests of the Vaseline was people of childbearing age, people who could create children, and they don't know what the outcomes of fertility are going to be.
They've warned against pregnant women taking it, or not falling pregnant or up to 3 months after your injection. There's so many different hurdles, so many things for people to consider. Will they consider what it is? Are you informed? Are you informed of the constituent parts? John Waters wrote a recent article. I'll make reference to it now, and I want to speak more on it during the week. And I also encourage those of the faithful to listen to the words of Cardinal Burke, his recent speech, or his homily. I just came across it today, and I will read through it again just this week for those of us of the faith. Great words from the Cardinal, and I will propagate that message as well. Sorry, Bruce. Again, that leads into our conversation, Bruce, about the aspirational. We might try and come back to that as well.
We'll come back to it. So there was a great fanfare with this Vaseline, and in the Parliament, an MP named Stephen Metcalfe, South Basildon in East Thurrock, he asked a question in Parliament. He said, "I congratulate my right honourable friend and his whole team on their Herculean effort to get us to the point where today Basildon University Hospital has started delivering the Vaseline. Now, as we scale up the rollout programme, will he join me in reassuring people that despite the speed of the development, not a single stage was missed, and that the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency has done its usual due diligence in approving this Vaseline?" Hancock's response was, "That is right. The MHRA has gone through the same safety processes as normal, but it has done them in parallel at the same time, rather than in a series, one after the other. It is that sort of a smart and thoughtful approach, alongside the work of the Vaccine Task Force in buying this Vaseline in the first place, has allowed us to get to this point of having confidence in the safety and efficacy of the Vaseline before anybody else in the world. Everybody in Basildon who gets the call can have confidence that they should come forward, get the jab, protect themselves, protect those around them, and are therefore help us all get through this terrible thing." Well, as I've mentioned before in this programme, I received the ethics papers from the Oxford vaccine trial, and I'll just read you this tiny little short bit out. "Manufacture of vaccines and clinical trials are regulated and subject to approval by the government body called the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency. The MHRA have strict standards for manufacturing Vaselines and subsequent testing to ensure safety. Due to the urgent need for a Vaseline against something 19, with agreement from the MHRA, some of the tests usually required for a newly manufactured Vaseline have been modified in order to make the Vaseline available more quickly for assessment in this clinical trial." I tweeted this to Hancock and to that MP who asked the question, and I said, "Hancock misled Parliament, he misled you, he's misled the British people. Not even the MP who asked the question concerned about the safety has done anything about it. It's quite clear that Parliament is broken. There's no democracy there. It's obviously theatre. It's obviously pure theatre." I informed Julia Hartley-Brewer, the radio presenter on Talk Radio, after she was congratulating Hancock on the Vaseline, and I said, "Well, he's misleading people. Are you aware of this?" No response. So all these presenters in the mainstream media, all these politicians supposedly asking hard questions about safety, it is nothing but a theatre production.
There's no journalists. They're not. They won't go near the paymasters. We have the exact same situation in the Republic of Ireland here, and I'm delighted. And I was bursting at the seams. We're having mobile, like the traffic signal display units parked outside the RTE, which is the BBC equivalent for you, Bruce. Openly saying RTE spreading lies, take off the masks, check out the vaccine. But the open propagandists, the Lugan press that they are, I was exposed periodically over the last couple of weeks to the radio and to the television, and just to hear the repetition of the key signs, the key words, the key building back better for this this sustainability, this the SDGs of Agenda 21 and 2030 that they keep referring out. That's now morphed into the Great Reset, all a la via the COVID-19, to restrict and bring in our new utopian dream that we're all expected to, you will be happy, as we are told.
Yeah, it's like how can I was walking down the Royal Mile in Edinburgh a couple of weeks ago in the capital of Scotland, and there were so many shops that were closed that could have been opened, and I wondered, why aren't they open? This is one of the busiest streets in Edinburgh, especially at Christmas, and they were closed. And the only reason I can think they were closed is because they've went bust. And I walked up past a restaurant, and there was a sign on this door of a restaurant, and it was the owner basically saying, it was an open letter to Nicola Sturgeon, saying that they'd done everything they could possible to make the place COVID friendly in the first lockdown, and done all the hygiene things and all the regulations that they asked, and then they did the second lockdown a few months ago. So I think they went bust, and they basically said, you've ruined our life's work. And there must be so many people like that. They are deliberately putting people out of business. And now they've targeted London just before Christmas. Now you're got to start seeing people. Jeremy Vine, Jeremy Vine, the right stuff.
Yeah.
Only now he's starting to question. He's saying, "Oh, why should we be in tier 3? This is there's nothing going on here. There's nothing going on." But before that, he was proudly parading himself with clear plastic mask on social media and going along with every diktat that came out of the mouths of the likes of Hancock and Boris Johnson.
The only people that give me encouragement, I don't know if you get to view them as well, is Sky News Australia, Alan Jones, Rowan. There's a host of them over there. Shari now has just recently come out again. Nobody talks about what's just been leaked out on the internet about the 1.95 million Chinese nationalists that are placed throughout the globe, from major corporate nationalists to governments in everywhere, with complete allegiance to the Chinese Communist Party. Effectively spies spread out throughout the world. America seems to be riddled with them. I'm sure we'll have our version of it here. Not a mention of it of any journalist of any integrity going, hang on a minute. We are at war, Bruce. I'm sorry, I want to squeeze this, but we are at war. This is the fourth generation war. It's an information warfare, the control of your mind. And, the possible side effects. What the whole part, sorry, Bruce. When I spoke to you earlier on, I was trying to imagine that the role play that I was coming into your surgery or your practice as a first time client, and I find myself that I wanted to talk about the PTSD of my situation, but the PTSD of I know people are going to die, and I know people are unnecessarily going to die because they've been lied to, and they have been quite blatantly lied to, but I can't. The woke culture, I don't want to describe it as one euphemistic anomaly. It's people willingly to go along with the big lie because they are afraid of death. They'd rather be under, top authoritarian control and feel safe, or the illusion of safety. As you said, that the inspiration of the religiosity of the state has taken over, whereas the state is the new God, and it tells you, and they will do it and reinforce it and go along with the big lie, even if it means someone close to them dying. They will not question what is actually going on around them. Sorry, I was running away myself. Sorry, Bruce. Pick it up.
No, Well, you see, in a therapeutic situation, if someone came to me and told me what's going on in their lives with this situation, they're being stopped from working, they're being stopped from meeting people, they're being told all these illogical measures that they've got to engage in. I would identify what they're suffering from as domestic abuse. And what does someone? Well, if you came to see me and you told me you weren't allowed to work, you weren't allowed to meet people, and you weren't allowed to meet your family, and Christmas was cancelled because it's too dangerous, and I would say, well, what is the evidence for this? What's the evidence for? A CBT therapist would analyse the evidence of your thoughts. What's the evidence for this? For danger of meeting of people. What's the the statistics, etc., etc. Because are your fears rational? Are they based on rationality? And if you analyse what the diktats of the government and on our personal lives, they don't add up at all. So, and what do we do? Well, do you appeal to the abuser? Well, generally speaking, abusers very rarely change. I mean, and even when they're told they're wrong or they're doing something wrong, they will blatantly say they're not doing anything wrong. They're not lying. I mean, Matt Hancock was supposedly crying on Good Morning Britain with Piers Morgan. He wasn't crying. That was the tears of an abuser. He's an abuser being
manipulating emotion.
Yeah,
and the narcissism of it all as well to display that it demeans, as Leo Varadkar does here time and time again. I must give a big shout out to Dan's mixtape as well. If anybody hasn't watched Dan's mixtape on YouTube, his last broadcast there as well, he said exactly the same thing. Leo Varadkar is such a media whore that we can't say that now. No, he's such a media sex worker that he has spent, according to Dan's statistics, 1.2 million, just over $1 million on PR and spin. Our last Taoiseach Prime Minister spent €16,000 on his PR. He quotes lines from Kylie Minogue to other stupid things. He belittles the position of Taoiseach. He is not a leader. He's just about his own narcissism. A man, Hancock, and those elites. Boris Johnson, very much as well. Boris Johnson seems to have his balls in Carrie's purse. The other half, she's pushing the huge narrative, and he's listening to it again.
Well, you see, domestic abusers are notorious narcissists. I'm just thinking of Nicola Sturgeon. It was now World Human Rights Day the other day, and she gave some video about how she's wanting to make Scotland a kind of a great example of upholding human rights. And of course, it's on. I think it's on my Twitter that I've got a little yellow sign up, the UNESCO Declaration of Human Rights bioethics about consent. Very similar to the kind of Nuremberg ideas of consent as well. Well, what about because for example in Scotland, they're making children wear masks, and the government, the Scottish government, haven't done any risk assessments for the harms that mask wearing will do to children, and neither have the schools. And so this is what domestic abusers do. They will portray themselves as being saintly, like Nicola Sturgeon presents herself as being a saint. I'm standing for human rights.
Yeah.
All the time, but at the same time, masking your children, masking them, making them breathe back in their CO2, making them develop headaches, making them develop bacterial infections. I mean, these are dangerous characters, I think, very dangerous.
But the whole point, we like as Matt Cancock, but as us as a society, the onus is on us. We used to do our thinking on logic, reason, and empiricism. We used, as you say, what is the empirical evidence for what you're asking us to do? They don't disclose it. Well, the onus is on us going, well, hang on a minute. I'm not doing jack squat. I'm not shutting my business down, depriving my fucking family of food, nutrition, and a livelihood under the diktats. I see it in the United States. People are opening businesses and pushing back. And if you can't show me the empirical evidence of what you want me to do, then there is no pandemic, and get out of my business and crack on. The vintners, we have a situation over here now where the Social Democrats, the lefties are changing tact and wind, and it's getting a bit of media attention about the greyhound racing. But there was one of the independents stood up, and one of the great words I retweeted on my Twitter tag if anybody wants to check it out if you haven't seen it already. You as the city boy, don't come and try and change my culture. This is our culture, and if you could just take that situation away from the dog world and insert it into Irish identity, Irish culture, the value in Irish tradition, and see the impact that this globalism is doing. But sorry, I swing around back again. We used to base our thinking on logic, reason, and diktat. Now this critical theory, this push for everybody to believe the big lie.
Yeah, well, it's like two and two make five, Orwellian style. I was very interesting. I noticed that the Swiss Medicines Regulatory Agency, they have not approved of the vaccines because they said that there was not enough data regarding their efficacy or safety. And again, this is going around social media, and Sturgeon will know about it. Boris Johnson, Hancock will know about it, and yet, so the Swiss Medicines Regulatory Agency haven't approved it because they don't. They're not convinced of the safety. The Swiss are pretty good as a society for being precise.
And protective of their society and citizenry. You know, their constitution, their law, whatever. Sorry, go ahead.
And there we go. We've got to launch it, this new Vaseline, onto the most vulnerable in society when there's other people, scientists out there who are going, hold on a minute, hold on. We don't know. We're not convinced that this is too quick. They're playing Russian roulette with people's health. And we're at a point now where how else can you maintain any dignity without? We'll have to refuse now. Essentially, it's the point of refusal now. But as I said to you before we started the show, it's like this. I've been reading a lot about a couple of books. Read a couple of books. This one by Rod Dreher. He interviewed Live Not by Lies, based on the famous speech by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. And he interviews people who lived under East European communism, Romania, Czechoslovakia, Russia, etc. And he interviewed them. And they were all kind of religious people. And the point was that people who go by the lie, they fear, so they give in to the fear. Whereas people who have a faith, for example, that faith stands them in good stead to transcend this fear. But so many people are going along with the line in the West now, in the Western countries, in a kind of, because Christianity has dwindled, as many commentators warned. Of course, with this postmodernism, with this queer theory, this sort of demonization of Christianity and religion.
Critical race theory as well. Don't forget that the BLM is big on the critical race movement.
Yeah, and so people they have no faith or think a way to transcend this fear. All they see is their life and what I can get in my pleasure and my existence. And how dare someone not take a Vaseline, and put everyone in danger.
You were saying that in our conversation at the start as well, that we have to. Well, not that we have to. How do we encourage people to look to the transcendent, to be to find that the bravery inside to push back on their subjective in their own subjective life, to, you know, I think we were saying for the aspirational, that the fear of death is controlling, out of that fear people are being controlled and manipulated. Nobody wants to be separated from their loved ones. Nobody wants to see harm come to anybody else. But death is a fact of life. But the unnecessary death that can be avoided by sheer bravery of just speaking words, of being honest and push back against the lie, you
Yeah,
know. But to get off the social media, these videos are great for our communication. But in your day to day, get on your soapbox and preach and speak openly about it. Those that will listen will. Those that won't. But
yeah,
you may have persuaded someone to just have that one moment of reflection and go, hang on a minute. There's a point there somebody's making, you know.
yeah.
Listen, as Stephen says.
Well, the message from this book and the people that he interviewed, very interesting. It was basically, there's lots of different examples in there, but essentially the sort of takeaway from it was that we are now in a place of suffering now, and like people who endured totalitarian communism, we have to accept this suffering now as our fate. That is a way to transcend it. You know, everyone gets, I think, very I can't go to restaurants, I can't travel, you know, I can't go to different places if in this brave new normal. But one has to embrace this suffering, and yeah, he did. People do have to meet. You know, social media is great, but to meet people, to meet in the real world, of course, there's no accident that they've put these rules in about not meeting people. You know, it's incredible, but it's so blatantly nonsensical. Because I mean, if it was such a deadly disease, why would there's a UK government propaganda video about don't spread COVID over Christmas, and it was showing people outside with this green mist floating everywhere in rooms, floating everywhere. Such a deadly disease, so don't do it. Well, people in the UK Parliament, the Scottish Parliament, in Nicola Sturgeon's daily briefings, they never wear a mask. They're in this. So I said to them on social media, well, basically, this green mist is everywhere. It's a hotbed of green mist, COVID mist. Therefore, why don't you stop the briefings? Because this UK government propaganda advert clearly indicates this green mist is going around everywhere. So why don't you stop it? You know?
Bring up your. I just brought up your. If you haven't followed Bruce as well, at Dr. Bruce Scott, capital D, capital B, capital S. And as we come up to the last 10 minutes there, Bruce, as well, steers towards your recent article in the last 10 minutes there. That's supposed to be published by the UK column, you were saying?
You know, this one there was the Cult of the Brave New Normal. It was
sorry.
that was published by in Off Guardian. It got huge scope. Ron Paul in America put it on his website. It really went really far.
Hang on a minute here, Bruce. Let me see if I can bring this over. I just clicked on the link to your article. I'll bear with me there, and I want to show you what just popped up. I want to show you. How do I show you? Chrome tab. There. You ready? Here it goes. I clicked on the link. To your show there. Let me zoom in there for. So there you go. Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't it? And that's what's coming in. That's why I'm saying we've got to be just a little bit cautious, you know. That's why I'm alluding to the Vaseline.
Yeah. Well, in that article, I mentioned the fact that Sturgeon, for many months, stopped people who were getting married. Well, they could get married, but they had to wear a mask. But she's never once worn a mask in this green mist COVID daily briefing room. Why would a leader make couples getting married? Who would be? I mean, let's, I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of it, but they'd be spending the night together, surely, and consummating their marriage. Would they have to wear a mask then? Why would they have to wear a mask getting married?
It's the same thing as Luke O'Neill over here, the Bill Nye, the science guy. I keep talking to him. You know what I mean? Bill Nye is an engineer. There's nothing to do with scientists. He did a diploma in engineering. That's it. The media portrays him as a scientist. Years of indoctrination has people convinced that he has something. And I think the RTA are hoodwinking our elderly generation. Last minute, please. Sorry, Bruce. Please, for those of you looking for a tactic to assuage the elderly amongst our oldest, the 65s, those that are of the faith, I encourage you, listen to the last homily get them to watch the last homily of Cardinal Burke. He speaks explicitly about the Great Reset, what it means to them. But if they are people of faith, then surely they would listen to the Cardinal. He can recognise it for what it is. All it is the Great Reset. And I'm trying to make this as YouTube as friendly as possible. And screaming the Great Reset is not helping.
Yeah. Well, it's there's so many inconsistencies. So if you were a patient, for example, come to therapy to see me, and you would reeling off all these inconsistencies, I would say, well, you're in a very dangerous situation, really. I mean, listen to this one. There was a Black Lives Matter march in London at the weekend, and there was the police. There was police there marching with them, and the marchers were shouting. I don't know if I can swear on Gran Torino, but it was FUCK, the police. They were shouting that walking along the road.
Sorry, Bruce, I couldn't fucking press the button quick enough. Crack on, you're good.
They were saying F the police, F the police. There was the journalist Ash Sarkar from Novara Media, communist. I'm a communist. Ash Sarkar, she was there with no mask on as well, and no arrests were made, of course, even though they were shouting F the police. And yet in Scotland, the other day there was a march from Holyrood, Scottish Parliament, to Bute House, which is the head of the SN, Nicola Sturgeon's sort of government residence in Edinburgh, I think.
Kim Young Sturgeon.
And Kim Young Sturgeon, yes, I see that. And basically, they were marching with the marchers to Bute House, and then all of a sudden, they just picked 5 people from the marchers and arrested them. They hadn't done anything wrong apart from just walking down the street, And yet you can walk down London, the Black Lives Matter march, and say F the police.
It's politically expedient. It's politically accepted. Was it that book? Sorry, Pat, in the live chat there was just recommending, because I don't see if you showed that other second book you wanted people to catch up on, the Stasi Residence. Very good, Pat.
Stasi Land.
Yeah, Stasi Land.
This book is fantastic. It basically it talks about East Germany, the totalitarian communism in East Germany, and of course it was in a different technological time. We don't have the tech. They never had the technology that we have now. But all the tactics that they've been using up before COVID and now in COVID about the political correctness, losing your people in East Germany lost their jobs before their careers before they got started. If they were a dissident in any kind or spoke against the regime, they wouldn't get that go to college. They wouldn't get the job that they went for a job interview with. It was completely controlled, and they had so many informers. Now, what does that remind you? It reminds you of this idea of telling on people if they're having a party during COVID. Oh, there are 10 people in that house. We have to phone the police.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same tactics. If you read this book, you just think of COVID 2020, and it's you can't argue against the similar things are happening now.
I'd argue, sorry, but Bruce, isn't that pretty much what we're saying? People won't do their own inquiry. People are happy to sneak the headlines off the newspaper stand or the radio, their favorite radio personality or their favorite TV anchor, even though they'll blatantly, like Kate Burley in the UK, bouncing off every other person that didn't, that broke the regulations that they were bringing in. And it's one real rule for thee and another for me. We have the
Yeah,
same thing here, and nobody ever held to account.
yeah. It's and a lot of these people, I think they believe that the regime won't come for them. They play along. They'll get a seat at the table
Read the
of
book.
privilege. They'll get the seat at the table of privilege, and they won't come for them. I think it was in Brussels, in Brussels or Belgium. I can't remember where it was. But some doctor or something said that. What was it about? It was basically cutting down on people having sex. Non-essential sex has to be stopped. So and of course,
How does that? How does that make sense with the Belgium health minister saying that people are having threesomes? Must limit their sexual contacts to 3 when they're outside. What the fuck is going? What's going on in Belgium?
yeah, but like Yuri Bezmenov, the ex-KBG agent, he says when totalitarian comes to town, he says that a lot of these useful idiots who are used to push the agenda, the political correctness, the sexual liberationists, the queer theorists, etc., etc. They all once totalitarian starts biting, they'll just be swept aside. Well, in his time, they were shot in the back of the head.
Mm.
But in our time, there are probably more subtle methods of getting rid of them. But of course, so stopping people meeting. I mean, it knocks polyamory on the head. Polyamory. People have how
Nobody's defending polyamory. I don't see anybody speaking out from the woke. We want our polyamorous rights back.
Well, it's interesting. I did a YouTube with a psychotherapist, psychologist from America, a friend of mine, Dr. Brent Potter. He's from South Carolina, and was it? Oh, I did one with him, but I did another one with my guy Matty Hughes, a Scottish YouTuber, and we were discussing essentially that before in February, all these leftists in the UK and all the leftist groups, they said the Conservatives are fascists. Boris Johnson was a racist, a homophobe, fascist, etc., etc. March happened, lockdown, and they never call Boris Johnson or Hancock a fascist anymore. And they embrace the totalitarian lockdown. Very strange.
Donald Casey just says it there as well. There was a time when the young people rebelled against the establishment. Now today they go out and support it.
Yeah.
Because of the lack of critical thought, because how far do you want to go back? Because the creche babies were raised by the state. Now the state is their mama, their daddy, and indeed now their God. We said it was the religion. It's everything to them. Why would the government lie to me? They've reared me. They've told me how to think. They've showed me which way, that I need, what I need to do to have a fruitful and fulfilling life. Who needs God?
Yeah, well, as it discusses in this book, the school system was very good at indoctrinating children to bring them up, and the same happens now in Britain and in Scotland. They get taught COVID propaganda in the schools, how not to kill your granny, how to wash your hands. They're getting indoctrinated, and for the last 15, 20 years as well, this kind of godless, human rights laden education where you can get what you want when you want. Life's just about pleasure. Everything's for me, a kind of narcissistic kind of philosophy, nihilistic. So all these young leftists who've left school now, I think they've become pretty. They're scared of dying. They're scared of they don't want to
Stephen there, and one of the comments there. We'll finish off at this point there because we're coming up on 45. Bruce, nice little spot, but we'll finish this. And I disagree with Stephen here now because Stephen's comment is the young are being provided with their choices. It's not their fault. I disagree. I have many my friends. Their kids now are 18, 19. Some are international. Some are doing particularly well. All right, chocolate. I remind you, he came to his own understanding for 15 and 16. And I'm using his nickname. Oh, better not actually. But the younger generations, the vast majority of them are able to critically think. They've grown up in the age of the internet. They may play along. A vast majority may play along with the millennials because. And I was going to jump in with you there, Bruce, as well. I am furious with the majority of teachers that push this on the children. It's like walking into a hospital ward in the school. They are bet into the diktats and enforce it with a passion and have no empathy or understanding with the children in their care, wanting to go to bathroom breaks and being told, sit there, you cannot move, 6, 7, 8. And I'm not saying all teachers, hashtag not all teachers, but every school incident or story that I've come back with, from the principal down to the young generation of kids that are avidly pushing Black Lives Matter philosophy, critical race theory on the children. You're pushing your politics onto them. Just give them an education and get the fuck out of the way. But I'm disgusted with teachers, with a passion, we would say. But again, no thinking. Sorry, Bruce, go ahead.
Yeah, there was a school in Scotland called Baldragon Academy, and they made some big display of their love of masks and how even though the younger pupils, the 12 and 13-year-olds, they didn't have to wear masks according to the guidelines. They were donning their masks in support of the older pupils. And a lot of the political and public health figures in Scotland were egging them on and supporting them. Well, it's out of order, because from the research, there's a few petitions going around from psychologists highlighting the psychosocial and health and physical health kind of risks of face masks. And it's like, back to this indoctrination, people if they grow up with this kind of narcissistic idea of their human rights and what they want, they should get it, and they become very amenable and to kind of the state diktats, I think. And like a lot of bullies at school, funny, I don't know if you noticed this at school, but I remember a lot of bullies. They were very good at sucking up to the teachers, and then behind their backs they would.
My memory of bullies is you battered the shit out of each other, and whoever won, the ultimate arbiter of discussions is violence, and it was the schoolyard bully. But that changed week to week. In my school, it did. The biggest abusers were the teachers, and they were physically abusive. And you go back far enough over here in the Irish education, they were sexually abusive. But in my time, it was physical abuse, and it came from the teachers.
Yeah. But but it's very worrying. I think it's very worrying. This sort of it's a sense of entitlement, and there is no. I don't think there's any idea of a greater good of society, of community. It boils down to the number one. They don't really care about the greater good. They just care about their own. Because if they get it good from all this COVID-19 shenanigans, I think they'll be pretty happy. They'll because look at the people who are the Kate Burleys of this world, embracing COVID-19 regulations, but that when they go out for a night out, she just completely ignores them. I mean,
we should do the same. I wish more people would.
Well, yeah. Well, why doesn't more people do it if they can do it?
I mean ignore them. Sorry, should have clarified. To ignore them, ignore it, and get on with your life. Turn the telly off. Leave your phone at home. Go out and talk to your nearest and dearest, and stay off the radio and the television.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's strange, even in academia, in the elites. I mean, they talk about it in Eastern Europe. A lot of the elites in academia, in East Germany as well. East Germany, in academia and journalism, a lot of people who are very intelligent and critical thinkers just turned on their backs and took it. because they thought they were going to get it good, you know. I mean, and it's the same. It's the same in the West, I think, because this is what I was talking about with Dr. Brent Potter from America, the psychologist. I said, where are all we both talked about this. Where are all the critical thinkers, the people who can analyze data? Because I recall from when I was in psychology departments, and he recalls as well that there were a lot of able statisticians who could analyze data. You know, I mean, I analyzed advanced statistics and studied them, and so I can read a graph, you know, and you say, where are they? Why aren't they speaking out? But they're just going along and masking up and looking at the data and going and turning a blind eye, which is exactly what happened in Eastern Europe. This is another indication that we're at this point where you can't trust these people who have signed up for it. You can't trust them, I don't think, because you couldn't trust them then. You couldn't trust them in East Germany or in the other Soviet communist states. You couldn't trust them.
We don't learn from history. We're doomed to repeat it, Bruce, is where we're heading, and we're doing it all over again, time and time again.
Yeah.
Well, Bruce, yeah. Sorry to cut across you, buddy, but we'll just hit the 50-minute mark, so I'm going to cut us off there. Are we going to do a two-week hacienda, or will you be joining us next week for the Christmas? Give us your Christmas message. I know we're all looking forward to Bruce's Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho! It's Bruce's Christmas message. Go ahead, Bruce.
So, are you on in 2 weeks' time, are you? 28th?
Yeah, 22 weeks' time, yeah.
Well, I'll be in touch. We'll have a word after. We'll see when we can do it again. But I
might squeeze it in during the week, the last couple of days before, and we'll have your Christmas message then,
yeah. Yeah.
Is that okay?
That's okay, yeah.
Okay, my brother, thanks for joining us. Just let people know before I let you go, where's the best place to catch you? Push people in the direction of your articles as well.
I've got a YouTube channel, Scott's Views.
Scott's Views. And
I'm on Twitter at Dr. Bruce Scott, and you can see me there.
Great stuff. Thanks, Bruce. Okay, I'll just we'll let you go there now. And before I let you go, Bruce, thanks, Bruce. Take care. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Okay, my friends, lovers of liberty, observers of reality, seekers of truth. Thank you. We are back. I will say for this week, Wednesday and Friday are a definite. Around about 8 o'clock, 7:30, and we'll get the cogs. We'll grease up the wheels. We'll get things going again. Just give me a chance to jump back into the stream. Lots to touch back in, and we'll mostly just the evening shows. I'm afraid we're because of the demonetization. As I say, we are demonetized, but we are not demoralized. We will be replacing the morning shows just for once a week now, or once a night for the evening shows. So I'd like to thank you all for your continued support. In the meantime, where we had the moratorium, or the hacienda, sorry, not the moratorium. Please, if you're new to the show, smash that like button, also the subscription button. For those of you joining us over on YouTube, for those of you here on Facebook, please hit the like button, please leave a comment, and please share on your own platforms. Really appreciate your support. It's your sharing. And those of you on YouTube, please smash that like button. It's most important out of all of it. Big thank you to all of you. So please continue with your support over at the Gran Torino website, World Wide Web, grantorino.ie. We'll be able to do it without you. We are keeping this thing of ours going along. Please join us up. Hopefully after Christmas we will be streaming again. But please, you can join us over on Twitch. You can join us on D Live, big hello. Also now on Facebook as well. We will be re-uploading to YouTube after the show, and I'll probably join you over in the live chat over there. Big hello, live chat on YouTube. How are you doing? And don't forget, our PO Box 13179. I was over there today, Siobhan. I received your letter today. Yeah, you know who it is. Thank you very much for your kind words, and I've read your letter. Okay, live chat and subscribers, big thank you to all for your continued support. We'll see you this coming Wednesday. If not before, we'll try and promote them, and we'll try and advertise them as they come around. But glad to be back. See you again soon. Look after yourself, everybody. Us.